Women are now being arrested for paternity fraud. So I find this pretty interesting what's happening here. But we always say nothing lasts forever, and women have essentially brought this onto themselves. There is actually a new law that was passed over in Tennessee, and we're actually seeing that other states are working to adopt this right now. Coming from the Tennessean, we'll just go ahead and have a look at this article. So it says that HB 253 slash 2B331 was signed into law by Governor Bill Lee on April 24th, and that was of 2023. The law says that anyone who establishes a person as the biological parent of a child with intent to deprive the actual biological parent from their parental rights is guilty of a crime. The law makes this specific form of fraud a Class B misdemeanor. Now, they've actually talked about this before, and the simple fact is that this is a very, very serious law that is a step in the right direction. This law is really immense. And what it does is it basically says that if a woman falsely says that a man is a child's father and he is not actually the father of that child, and this is a deliberate act, they can end up in jail. It is a misdemeanor, but it can also be raised up to a felony. Now keep in mind, before, it wasn't even a crime for a woman to do this. It was not even a violation whatsoever. So they could not be prosecuted in the United States for falsely listing a man as the wrong father. This is what they've been doing for ages. Tyrone and Chad, they go in, they clap, and then the woman is like, obviously these men cannot be fathers, so she's going to get herself a simp, and the poor bastard goes, plan B guy. She has the plan B guy. She lets him get it at one time, or sometimes he doesn't even get it at all. But she writes his name down on the birth certificate, and then there's a 5 year statute of limitation where basically he has to come forward and say that within those 5 years that he wasn't the father. And sometimes the man doesn't even know that she wrote his name down on the birth certificate. And if he doesn't come forward in those 5 years, then he is screwed. And the court's like, well, listen, there's a 5 year statute of limitation. There's nothing we can do for you. Something very interesting also, if you look at this, right? It says the 2023 law, while it did leave out DNA testing requirements, Parkinson also passed a separate bill in 2022, HB 2699, that did remove a 5 year statute of limitations to challenge an acknowledgement of paternity on the basis of fraud, duress, or mistake. So that was also dealt with. You know, Guys, I've said this already many times that no matter what happens at this point, no matter how many changes are made, men are never going to go back. Men are never going to get back into relationships with women in Western society. There's no going back. There's always going to be the simp. I made a video where this guy was basically saying that the MGTOWs, they pretty much get everything right, but they're cowards, and at the end of the day, life is filled with risk, and if you don't want to take a chance, then you're nothing but a coward and you're a joke. And he was just using tons and tons of shaming language. And it's like, it's amazing because there you have it, where you have these guys who they know every bad thing that can happen. They've watched all of these videos, they've consumed all of this content, and they've basically made it clear that if you don't go out there as a man and find someone to reproduce with, you have no value in the world. You're a loser, and that's the end of it for you, because life is filled with risk, and you're supposed to, as a man, take risk. Well, here's the thing. As a man, you choose what risk you want to take. There are so many guys who've taken these chances, taken these risks. They've gotten married to women in the church. They've married virgins. They've done all of these things. And of course, men will always be held accountable for everything that they've done, and it didn't work out for them, and they're still criticized. And men are here comparing notes from all around the world. Men of every profession, men of every background. You have men at the very top, at the very bottom. You have men from every country in the world that are comparing notes and saying, no, bro, this is what's happened here. This is what's happening here, and guys are like, okay, okay, okay. So we're learning from one another. But what this tells us is that some men will always be simps. Some men cannot control themselves. They will betray. These are the men who betrayed humanity. These are the men who are responsible for society being in the terrible state that it is in right now. They're responsible for society collapsing. They're responsible for everything that's happening here because they cannot control themselves. They allow these guys. You could see the evil upon them. They don't care this. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about anyone. They think that's a complete and utter joke and game. The craziest thing is that some of these guys, only when they've had their lives destroyed a couple of times, because they don't learn their lessons the first time, the second time. It takes sometimes three failed marriages. There was one guy, three failed marriages, four baby mamas, for him to finally learn his lesson and say, guys, don't do what I did. Like, there's so many dudes, they don't learn their lesson after the first marriage, and it's only after the second marriage that they finally lost everything, and they become destitute when they finally learn their lessons. Guys, we're dealing with lunatics. We're dealing with absolute lunatics, people that have lost their humanity, people that have lost their ability to reason, people that are just completely overwhelmed with their desires. They cannot control themselves. I'll tell you, one of the most dangerous things on the face of the earth is a man who cannot control his desires, who cannot control himself. These are very, very dangerous people because they will betray you at the drop of a dime. They will lie. They will do anything just for the sake or the prospect of a queef. And you have to wake up to that reality. It's a sad reality, but that's the reality that we absolutely live in because these people have no self-control, none whatsoever. By the way, guys, I have a channel called Angry where I discuss gaming, anime, geek stuff, nerd stuff, real world stuff, and whatever else interests me. There's a link to it in the description of the video. You can go and check it out, subscribe, and support my work. There's a lot of great content over there. I also have another channel called Men Walking Away where I post more content like the video you're watching now. So if you're enjoying this video, you can go and check that channel out for even more content like this video. And there's a link to that. There's a link to that channel and the other channel in the description of the video. So go and check them out, subscribe, and support my work. But yeah, guys, I mean, it's sad how these men behave. It's pathetic how these men behave. But these men don't have any self-control. They lack self-awareness. They lack reason. They basically will just let you know they don't care. And they will use any level of shaming language to tear you down. Okay? It's the saddest thing in the world. There is no reason for a man to be getting married in today's day and age. I am in complete support of the passport kings going overseas and living their best lives. And like I've said this many of times, a lot of the passport kings are not going overseas to find wives. They're going overseas to find peace and to walk away from a society that does not value them and does not like them. I told you, these people, this society, Western society, despises men. So Western society does not like men. It absolutely does not like us. It does not want us here. It just wants to use us and then dispose of us when it's done. And a lot of men are finally waking up to this reality and saying, okay, yeah, I get it. There's nothing here for me. It's time for me to #walk away. And that's why men walking away is so powerful, because men are finally realizing, you know what? There really is nothing for me here. It really is time for me to just walk away. The writing has been on the wall for a long time, but I didn't want to accept it, but I'm going to accept it now. I've said this before. When men want to go on dates, they're going to fly out of the US or whatever country. They're going to fly out. For example, men are going to live their lives of simplicity in Western society, and with these bachelor taxes and all this other garbage, men will just basically will lower their income. For example, if you're going to tax men so heavily, men are not marrying, they're not having children. They'll lower their income. They will lower it down as much as they possibly can, and so that they're not being taxed heavily, and they will save everything that they don't need. And that's what a lot of guys do. And they will pour whatever disposable income they have into investments and like cryptocurrency and stock market and even real estate. And that money will just keep on growing. Right now, we're watching men continuously retiring. Men are retiring rapidly, left and right. You have men just retiring all over the place right now. And people don't even realize that these men are retiring. As a man, if you don't have children, you can retire relatively easily. A lot of men never knew this, that if so many of us in our 20s, if we were not focused on buying property so that we can have wives and children and these families and all this other nonsense, we could have many of us could have retired in our 20s. You'd say that's it, that's insane. No, it's not. Go get a trade when you're 18 years old. Go to trade school, get a trade, learn how to do welding, learn plumbing, learn, guys, you don't have, go to automotive school, learn body work. You will make tons of money this way. All right? And live with your parents for as long as you can. I mean, most people are staying with their parents until they're in their mid 20s now. So I mean, at 18, you're already making $40,000 to $50,000 a year. By the time you're 20 years old, you'll be making $70,000 to $100,000. It doesn't even matter if you're making that. Let's say you're making 60. All right, you're living with mommy and daddy. All of that money is going in the bank. Within a couple of years, between investing, you're putting your money in the stock market, investing in crypto, or just letting your money grow, you're going to end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. And as you continue to grow and get older, you're going to be making more and more money. By the time you're in your mid 20s, you're making over $100,000 a year, sometimes a couple $100,000 a year. By the time you're 30 years old or pushing 30, you're almost a millionaire. You have money, your money is making money for you. Guys, if you're enjoying the content, help get the channel to 100,000 subscribers in our journey to 2 million by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, liking the video, and turning on notifications to never miss another video ever again. Women are now being arrested for paternity fraud. What do you guys think regarding this? I think that it's something that's been coming for a long time, and I'm not crying for them, There's a saying, like, stop trying to save them. They don't want to be saved. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll talk about it there. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and walking away. And cheers.